Hello there, welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the southeast this Monday evening. Despite the extreme heat warning, beaches in Kent and Sussex looked like this earlier as day trippers tried to escape sky-high temperatures.
While we are actually tempted to have fun in the sun, these temperatures are really risky, not just for specific vulnerable groups, but just about everyone.
Use water only if essential. The message is a lack of rainfall and high demand puts pressure on supplies, but could more restrictions be on the way?
Also tonight, Britain's next Prime Minister. Will Tunbridge Tom Tugendhat scrape through to fight another day?
And have these wild bison been released at just the right moment? A timely step in tackling climate change in woods in East Kent. Good evening. The southeast has been baking in temperatures in the high 30s today, just short of the all-time British record.
Forecasters say there's more to come. Emergency services say take care in tinder dry conditions. Train companies urge people not to travel, and water supply bosses say they're having to cope with unprecedented demand.
Well, let's go first to Malcolm Shaw at Buell Water on the Kent-Sussex border, the southeast's largest reservoir. Malcolm, good evening to you. How are things where you are tonight?
Well, Buell Water, Matt, has a capacity of 31,000 megalitres of water, and perhaps it's quite surprising that despite exceptionally dry weather in recent months, this reservoir is still 70% full. The problems that people are experiencing at the moment are more to do with increased demand during this very hot weather rather than any problems with supply itself. Now, the villages of Chollock and Molash near Ashford have been without water now for 2 days. A bottled water station has been set up at the village hall while engineers try to restore the mains supply. South East Water says the problems are because the villages are high up and water pressure has dropped off. We've been speaking to some of the people there who've been affected by this.
Saved the day for us, really. They're doing a fantastic job. You know, we've just got to keep going, really.
Did you notice something was different with the water at home?
Oh, it's no pressure, a lot less pressure. So it's just trickling at the moment. And then my daughter saw that this was available, so obviously it's ideal. It's big help.
Today's problems follow others right across our region in the last week or so. 24,000 homes on the Isle of Sheppey lost their water for 3 days when 2 pipes burst there. And over in Broadstairs, another 2,000 homes were hit not once but twice in 24 hours when the supply from a reservoir failed. So South East Water says that normally it supplies 540 million litres of water a day to its customers over the summer months, but that soared to 600 million, and it's now moved Kent to red status, and it's asking people to only use water if it's really essential.
There's 2 parts to water supply. There's the raw water levels we have in reservoirs, rivers and boreholes, and while they're slightly lower than we would like at the moment, they're not our main area of concern. The problem we're seeing at the moment is us literally being able to pump the treated water into the network fast enough to keep up with customer demands, and also to maintain our storage in the system, which are these underground storage tanks where we keep the treated water. Our levels are reducing each day as customer demand just outstrips supply in some of our areas.
So what does this mean for the next few months? Well, we know that there's a little bit of rain forecast later this week, but not much. And the water companies are basically banking on wetter weather to come, or we could be talking about more restrictions like hosepipe bans possibly later in the summer. OK, Malcolm, for now, thank you very much indeed.
Well, the unprecedented level 4 alert posed a hazard to health and well-being across the southeast, with emergency services crews on standby.
But as firefighters warned of the dangers the hot weather posed, it was already being proven with fields and grassland set alight. And inevitably, some of them could have been avoided. Tony Green has our report.
Before a day of record temperatures, the southeast was already ablaze. This is the Isle of Sheppey, one of several grass and field fires on the eve of the extreme heat warning taking effect.
It's hot, but we're used to heat in the southeast. It's a few degrees hotter than it normally would be. What is the extra risk that people are facing?
So the ground is already dry. We've had quite a spell of hot weather already. So with the extra heat today, what we are seeing is things that are even more dangerous. So whether it's tin cans that might reflect heat or glass that is left on the grass, it can reflect and cause that ignition source. The fires that we do see, where we have outdoor fires all of the time, they are larger, they spread quicker. So it is that much more complex to deal with.
There was no mystery to the cause of this blaze on the Isle of Sheppey, which kept crews busy until the following morning. Fireworks from a model aircraft display started a fire that quickly spread and led organisers to cancel another show. Here in Worthing, crews were dispatched to increase oxygen levels in a lake after dozens of dead fish floated to the surface. The first ever level 4 alert posed a threat to transport, food, water, energy supplies and health.
So the advice is to basically minimize transport usage, and that's because it'll get very hot in these places and there could be disruption. So basically plan your journey. You don't want to get stuck in the middle of nowhere in heat.
The advice was to only travel if absolutely necessary, and many took the advice on board. Metal rails can reach temperatures 20 degrees higher than the atmosphere, causing them to expand and creating a headache for operators like Southeastern.
We have to run our trains at a slower speed, so typically today the trains going up from Hastings will be running at around 60 miles an hour rather than their usual speed. This is to ensure that we can run a safe railway for all our passengers and to protect against the risks of things like the tracks buckling, which we don't want to happen. And so those lower speeds just ensure that we can run trains as safely as possible.
Before too long, a signalling problem suspended services from here to Tunbridge Wells. Some creatures don't understand advice, but instinctively know how to keep cool. This bear's birthday at Wildwood outside Canterbury included cake and a salmon encased in ice. Even in this heat, the cake was chosen today, but tomorrow it's even hotter. Tony Green, ITV News.
It's all right for some. Well, as temperatures soared today, the coasts of Kent, Essex and Sussex were the destinations for many.
Well, for tourism and businesses, it's certainly a boom time for ice creams in cafes, but for our emergency coastal services, the heat is on in more ways than one. Andy Dickinson reports from Worthing.
After a weekend that saw a mass migration to the beach, the morning scenes in Worthing were relatively tranquil, though by lunchtime the beaches of Hove were once again swamped. Coast Guard's in Deal in training for their next onslaught.
We're not going to say don't come. What we're going to say is think about where you're going, try and go to a lifeguarded beach, think about some of those busier popular beaches, Camber, down towards Brighton, any of the big sandy beaches, Margate. Just think about that. You might be stuck in traffic for hours. It'll be a long couple of days. Hopefully we can get out the other end of it with people heeding some advice and staying safe.
Now the summer day in my back home country, the 40 degrees, 40 degrees is too hot. They want to come in England for this weather, to enjoy this weather.
In Philippines, it's 31 or 30, 26, 27. That's the weather in Philippines. But here, the British, of course, they are not happy about very hot weather.
While temperatures have climbed to those intense levels inland, the coast has actually been afforded with a slight breeze, but that of course means that more crowds are predicted, with Worthing already hitting 30 degrees, Brighton predicted to reach a record 33 degrees tomorrow.
Big thing for us is just making sure the basics are done. So sun cream, plenty of water, food as well. You know, you may not feel like you need to eat, but please do get them salts back in you. And for the youngsters, just make sure you've got eyes on them at all times. We are pulled from pillar to post in these times. It is what we do. It's what we're here for. So when the people are out, we're out, and we are just constantly checking on welfare, looking for any hazards, intercepting where possible.
With a lifeboat rescue off Eastbourne on Saturday, 10 miles of sand to cover by just 4 wardens in Worthing, and the lure of the sea rising alongside the Mercury, our emergency services are on high alert. Andy Dickinson, ITV News.
Well, Holly joins us in the studio to get a little bit more on the weather. Obviously, it's been hot. Why has it been so hot?
Do you know, there's a few factors going on here. We can take a look at a graphic now which explains it a little better. Our jet stream is surging to the north. It's allowed high pressure to build in. That in itself allows more sunshine day on day. Temperatures rise. High pressure actually squashes the air down. That causes it to heat up as well. In addition, our ground is very dry at the moment. Dry ground heats up more quickly than wet ground. These are all background factors. But can you see that circulation to the west of Spain? Yes. Now that is allowing very hot air to pump up across Spain and across France. As you know, they've been breaking records themselves, seen all sorts of wildfires. That hot air now arriving with us, and that's increasing to heat up that hot air as it pushes in for tomorrow.
And tomorrow likely to be worse?
Yeah, I think so. So as I say, this air getting hotter, temperatures getting that bit higher. We could well see some of us as much as 3 or 4 degrees hotter, I think, than today.
OK, we'll get more on that full forecast a little bit later in the programme, but for now, Holly, thank you very much.
Thank you.
In other news, a policeman's been stabbed on Rochester High Street. Kent police say he was off duty at the time of the attack in the early hours of this morning. He was airlifted to a London hospital with serious injuries following the assault. Kent police say he'd been at a takeaway in Commercial Road in Strood before the attack, where an altercation took place.
Network Rail has completed improvements to the Brighton main line. Repair work has been carried out at Haywards Heath and Balcombe, where there were landslips.
Patrols will be carried out on commercial vehicles by police in Sussex to make sure they're safe. Police are reminding drivers to check their vehicles and that loads are safely secured. Officers are warning that even small items falling off a vehicle can cause serious injuries.
Now, Tory MPs are voting again tonight for their new leader, and the Tunbridge and Malling MP, Tom Tugendhat, is fighting to stay in the contest.
If he comes bottom of tonight's poll, he'll have to drop out. Over now to our political correspondent, Phil Hornby. Phil, so is this the end of the road for Mr Tugendhat?
Probably, Sangeeta. He came close to elimination in the last vote and is favourite to go out tonight. But even if that happens, he hasn't disgraced himself. He's won some admirers along the way, and I suspect he'll be offered a senior ministerial job, if he wants one, by whoever is the new Prime Minister in September. He's always been an outsider in this contest, and he decided to fight it as the outsider, as the candidate untainted, as he says, by service as a minister under Boris Johnson. Now, he saw that as a strength, but in last night's ITV debate, rivals, including Kemi Badenoch, said it was a weakness.
Serving in government is not easy. It requires taking difficult decisions. Tom has never done that. It's very easy for him to criticise what we've been doing. But we have been out there on the front line making the case for why we have done the right thing.
I've been on the front line in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Not in government.
And I've been on the front line of the argument against Putin and against China. I've changed government policy on this.
But you haven't taken any decisions. It's easy to talk. Talking is easy. Talking is easy.
We'll find out soon. And Phil, on a different issue, there's been a report out today about the government's plans to stop the small boats crossing the Channel.
That's right. The Home Affairs Select Committee have brought out a report about the migrants crossing the Channel. They've told us something we all know, I think. There is no silver bullet. There is no single solution. However, members of that committee, including the Sussex MP Tim Lawton, have come up with what seems to be a new idea.
I think there is a case for the British government, potentially as a pilot, to allow some migrants who have got a better chance, a better claim to have asylum in the UK, to be able to apply from the reception centres, which we are helping to fund in France. That would only work if those who had no claim, their claims were rejected, were then deported by the French.
And Phil, finally, like all of us, MPs have been talking about the weather today.
They have, Sangeeta, in an emergency debate called by the Green MP for Brighton Pavilion, Caroline Lucas, this afternoon. Not surprisingly, she says the government haven't done enough to tackle climate change.
When is this government finally going to join the dots and stop pouring fuel on the fire?
It is beyond perverse that ministers wring their hands over extreme heat one day and give the green light to new oil and gas extraction the next.
And it's certainly hotting up among the Parliamentary Conservative Party. I've spoken to a few Tory MPs today, all waiting with bated breath for the next round of this vote to be announced tonight.
Phil keeps you busy. Thanks very much.
Now you're watching ITV News across the southeast, of course. Coming up on the programme tonight, why the introduction of wild bison to East Kent woodland is the latest weapon in the fight against climate change.
And we take a look at the hottest spots in our region, with places like East Malling soaring in to the mid-30s, and it's not over yet.
And you can find more on all of our stories today on our website. There's the address itv.com/Meridian. There's the phone number 0808 1010 095. And as ever, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, on Twitter and on Instagram.
Today marks the start of South Asian Heritage Month, celebrating the diverse South Asian communities that are part of the fabric of today's Britain.
Well, this year's events will recognise two major anniversaries that led many South Asian families to Britain several decades ago: the partition of India and the expulsion of Asians from Uganda.
Amrit Birdie has been hearing why it's important to not only remember this history, but also to educate a new generation.
Just over 5% of the UK's population identify as being ethnically South Asian. Many had relatives that made the long journey to this country after the partition of India 75 years ago, with another wave 25 years after that, following the expulsion of South Asians from East Africa. The importance of both anniversaries is being recognised in the coming weeks as part of South Asian Heritage Month. Govinda Sanda is the CEO of the Kent Equality Cohesion Council in Gravesend. He says South Asian migrants have helped to shape the Britain that we know today.
As we celebrate South Asian Heritage Month here in 2022, you look at the positive contribution made in every facet of life, be it business, be it politics, be it sport, be it retail, be it food. Indian takeaways can't part of the staple diet, arts, culture. And least of all, let's not forget the NHS and the fantastic contribution those from South Asian heritage have made at the NHS. So I think it's something that the South Asian community need to be very proud of, and I think we as a country need to be proud of, that not only are the communities so well integrated, but they make a positive contribution in every facet of public life.
Throughout this vast land, Hindus and Muslims seek safety in new surroundings.
But it's not just about looking back in time. There's lots of work going on in primary schools to celebrate South Asian history and culture, in the hopes of educating and inspiring a new generation.
They don't just learn about dance, but they learn about, our theme is Holi, and they're learning about, particularly about India, the culture, the food, economy, and this is particularly for South Asian Heritage Month. So we're celebrating South Asian Heritage Month, and it's very important to go around to schools, different communities, to celebrate.
The more that we can educate children on different cultures, it means that we live in a world together far more harmoniously. It breaks down prejudice, and that's so important, that children get an opportunity to learn for themselves, to experience it for themselves, to make their own minds up.
And it seems some of the learning has made a lasting impression.
We've been learning a special dance that sometimes Indian people do. My favourite part is the industrial factories. And did you know that every 2 seconds a car's produced? It's been very interesting. I would love to know more about India. Me too, I think the same.
South Asian Heritage Month is being celebrated with events across the country, running until Wednesday the 17th of August. Amrit Birdie, ITV News.
And plenty more coverage on our programme, where the ITV Evening News continues here at 6:30 with more now. Charlene White.
Britain bakes in the heatwave on the hottest day of the year. Trains have been cancelled, some schools are closed, and hospitals are feeling the pressure. Warnings too over water safety after 2 teenagers die in Northumberland and Berkshire. Across Europe, heat waves are causing devastating fires. We're in France, where thousands are being evacuated. And 5 becomes 4 in the race to be the next Prime Minister. Join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
Now, bison were today introduced into ancient Kent woodland in soaring temperatures to help tackle the climate crisis.
The release, led jointly by Kent Wildlife Trust and the Wildwood Trust, is part of a £1 million project to manage West Blean and Thorndean woods between Canterbury and Herne. Here's John Ryle.
It's been a while. Wild bison disappeared from England 12,000 years ago, but at 6 a.m. today they returned to ancient woodland near Herne Bay. The matriarch first to emerge from the enclosure, followed by 2 younger females. The bull, completing the herd, will arrive from Germany in the next few weeks, his delivery delayed by post-Brexit red tape.
It was quite emotional, actually, almost a spiritual experience, which sounds really strange. But I think it's been so many years in the planning. Getting to this point is a culmination of all of the work, the collaborative work, the 2 organisations coming together. So in a way it feels like this is an end point, but in the reality it's just the beginning.
There were concerns this might be a very brief photo opportunity, but the bison were untroubled by the media circus and took a leisurely look around before mooching into the woodland. This is their habitat, 1,000 acres of woodland at the Blean that will be enriched by their presence. This is being seen as an important pilot project for a radical new approach to landscape conservation. Less human involvement, more use of natural ecosystem engineers such as beaver, boar and bison.
They'll eat the woody vegetation, so they'll create gaps. Those gaps will be great for other wildlife in terms of bringing the light in. They'll basically do the job that we would have to do with chainsaws and volunteers for us.
Their roaming ground is surrounded by an electrified fence to keep the animals in and a second to keep the public out. This £1 million initiative, paid for by the People's Postcode Lottery Fund, is partly about countering the effects of climate change. So today's temperatures were a welcome coincidence for the organisers and didn't bother the bison at all. They did what they do best: chill. John Ryle, ITV News, Herne.
Chill, easier said than done. Holly's with us now. So Holly, how hot has it been today?
We've been up to 35 degrees at East Malling in our region. Not the hottest spot in the country, it's been much hotter in the Midlands, but we are going to be that bit hotter for tomorrow. So for some of us, potentially 3 or 4 degrees hotter, which I do think will feel ever so much more oppressive.
Now, a lot of people, or some people certainly online, saying, look, it's the summer, it's supposed to be hot, 1976, it's no worse than that. It's different, isn't it?
It is. I've had an awful lot of this as well. The thing is, firstly, we are forecasting for tomorrow unprecedented temperatures. So we're talking in our region high 30s, elsewhere in the country 40, maybe 41 degrees. You have to remember the highest temperature ever seen in the UK is 38.7 degrees. Back in 76, yes, we did have a stretch of prolonged hot weather, but we never even reached 36 degrees. So we are talking several degrees higher than that. As I say, never experienced before temperatures in the country by day and potentially by night as well. So it is a very different beast. And if you think about it in terms of climate change, well, just take a look at this graph for me. So this shows you on the left, you've got the temperatures in June 1976 compared to what you'd normally expect to see. And you can see, yes, the UK, Western Europe is hotter than average, but look at June 2022. Most of the world now is seeing temperatures higher than you would normally expect to see, higher than the average, the background temperature if you like. So yes, 76 was hot for us, but it was quite a localised effect. Now we are seeing this really just a drop in a much bigger picture across the world, temperature records being broken and just a hotter climate in general.
Well, a lot to worry about tomorrow as well. We'll talk about that more. Yeah. But yeah, could be breaking those temperatures tomorrow. Let's get a look at the full forecast. Really important this week, of course. Here's Holly with the details.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent boilers and heat pumps, sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
So some exceptional weather with us, I'm afraid, at the moment. We've got heat warnings in force currently. They extend through tonight into tomorrow, and actually tomorrow for most of us. A hotter day, amber across the region, red for parts of the region. That's our highest level of warning. And we need to continue to think about adverse health effects, not just for the most vulnerable, but population-wide. Let's look at the detail on these warnings. So as I say, amber for all of us, but northwestern parts of Kent into Surrey, it's a red warning. This is the zone most likely to see the highest temperatures, potentially 38 degrees, maybe even a little higher than that. And tonight, ever such a warm one. We've got this very warm air in place, and of course temperatures really struggle to fall away. I think many of us could see values remaining in the 20s for tonight. That's what's called a tropical night, and it could actually possibly be the warmest night we've ever seen in the UK. We head into tomorrow. From the word go, there'll be an awful lot of sunshine. Temperatures will shoot up. I think by 9 o'clock we could already be over 30 degrees, and those values continue to push their way upwards rapidly through the course of the day. So as I say, 38 degrees, potentially even a little bit higher than that, not to mention, of course, very high UV levels as well. Later on in the day, we have got this feature coming in from the west. That could lead to some showers and potentially some thunderstorms, so we'll be keeping a close watch on that as well. These are our times of high water. Dover there 3:57 and again at 4:09 as we head into the afternoon. So tomorrow then, the real peak of the heat. After that, we do see some changes. Still some more weather at times, but a real drop in those values and the risk of some possibly thundery showers at times as well.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
Well, perhaps no let up from the heat, but at least we have got let up from the pollen at the moment. Pretty much now at the tail end of the grass pollen season, and really just weed pollen into the coming days. Do take care. Bye-bye.
Now next tonight, the search for a fantastic fundraiser to represent our region at the Daily Mirror Pride of Britain Awards, and of course we need your help.
Well, it's perhaps an individual who's dedicated years to raising money for good causes. Whatever their story, we would dearly love to hear all about them.
The Pride of Britain Awards are back. It's the celebrity-packed bash with some of the biggest names in Britain, but where the stars of the show are not famous at all, they are everyday heroes.
The Daily Mirror Pride of Britain Awards celebrate ordinary folk who do extraordinary things, and once again we want to recognise your unsung heroes.
Real stories, real superheroes.
Real people, celebrated.
This is where you come in, because we're looking to celebrate ITV regional fundraisers and name one of them the National Fundraiser of the Year for 2022.
We have so many people, crazy people in this country, who fundraise all year round, and it's such a vital part of who we are in Britain. And it's always selfless, you know, it's not about them, it's about what they bring to other charities or to organisations. And those are the people we want to be nominated.
If you know someone who fits the bill, we want to hear from you.
It could be someone like Jeremy Daubney from Tunbridge Wells, who was ITV Regional Fundraiser of the Year last year.
Jeremy raised money for the Motor Neurone Disease Association and the Brain Tumour Charity.
If you'd like to nominate someone, you can head to our website. That's itv.com/Pride of Britain.
You can only nominate individuals, and they must be aged 18 years old or over.
The closing date is Friday the 12th of August, and full terms and conditions can be found on our website.
Yep, so please get nominating. In just a moment, it's the ITV Evening News with Charlene White.
We are back with the latest at around 10:30 tonight, but for now, from the team, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.